Hello everyone! In today's video, I'll show you 3 tips for sharpening knives using simple tools you can easily find right at home. You know that frustrating feeling when your favorite kitchen knife is so dull it can barely slice a tomato? That's a clear sign of a very dull edge. As I try to slice, it just squishes the tomato, not cutting cleanly at all. It's frustrating, isn't it? But don't worry, I have an amazing solution in mind. I'm starting with a small tin box filled with clothes pegs. I'll take one of these ordinary clothes pegs. You'll be surprised how useful this simple item can be in our project. Next, I've got this piece of wood. I'm going to measure it out and mark a point. This mark is crucial for precise placement, ensuring our sharpener is perfectly aligned later on. Now, I'm using a drill to carefully create a hole at the location I initially marked. This will provide an anchor point for our grinding guide rod. I'm taking a long bolt, a washer, and a nut. I'm going to attach the washer and then thread the bolt through the hole I just drilled. I will use pliers to tighten the bolt into the drilled hole. Now I will use a ruler to mark 2 points on the block of wood. These are where the knife will be fixed. Now, I'm using a drill to carefully make a few holes at the locations I've marked. I will place the washer over the drilled hole and secure it with screws. These additional bolts and screws will create a stable base for the knife when secured, preventing shaking during use. Can connect and chat from all over the world. If you find this video interesting, with the base ready, I'm taking that clothes peg again and attaching it to the top of the long bolt. This clamp will act as a simple guide to help secure the grinding tool. Here are 2 smaller wooden blocks. I'm measuring them to make sure they're of equal size. I'm attaching a metal hinge to one of the wooden blocks with screws. This hinge allows me to attach 2 blocks of wood together to form a sharpening tool, ensuring the blade makes full contact with the surface. Now, I'm screwing the other side of the hinge to the second block, making a 2-piece hinged wooden component. I'm marking 2 straight lines on both blocks of wood as they're joined together by hinges. These lines will guide my cuts to create the perfect sandpaper mounting position. I'm securing the hinged blocks of wood in a vise. Using a handsaw, I carefully cut along the lines I had previously marked at a diagonal angle. This angled cut is crucial for shaping the wood blocks to provide the optimal sharpening angle for the blade. Now, I'm going to put 2 small screws on each side of the wooden block. This is where we'll fasten the 2 blocks together. Then, I'm drilling a hole on the opposite side. This hole will hold our sharpening rod. I'm taking some baking soda, and using the blade, I carefully spread it evenly into the newly drilled groove. The baking soda acts as a filler, creating a solid base for the next step. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any interesting ideas coming soon. I'm inserting a long metal rod through the drilled hole. Then I apply super glue to the baking soda. The super glue reacts with the baking soda, creating a rock-solid bond that securely holds the metal rod in place within the blocks. Next, I'm taking the sandpaper and fixing it to the outside of the hinged wooden blocks. This is our actual sanding surface. I'm making sure it's firmly attached and smooth. To keep securely in place, I'm wrapping a rubber band around the blocks. This simple step ensures that the sandpaper doesn't shift while I'm sharpening. Now, I'm assembling the sharpening system. I slide the metal rod through the clothes peg on the main wooden base. The clothes peg acts as a pivot, allowing the sanding block to move freely while maintaining a consistent angle. With the sharpener assembled, I carefully place my dull kitchen knife on the base, aligning the blade perfectly. I then use screws to securely hold the knife in place, ensuring it won't move during the sharpening process. Now for the actual sharpening. I'm moving the sanding block back and forth along one side of the knife blade. This action begins to grind away the dull edge, slowly revealing a sharper surface. I'm spraying a little water onto the sandpaper. This helps to cool the blade, prevent dust buildup, and provides a smoother sharpening action, giving us an even finer edge. I continue to work the sanding block across the blade, maintaining consistent pressure and angle. You can already see the metal filings, indicating the dull edge is being refined. Once I'm satisfied with the first side, I adjust it to sharpen the other side of the blade. It's important to work both sides equally to create a balanced, sharp edge. I repeat the back and forth motion on the second side, ensuring I achieve the same level of sharpness and consistency as the first. This methodical approach delivers a professional-grade edge right at home. Now, it's time to carefully remove the knife from the sharpener by unscrewing the fasteners. You can already see the incredible shine and the pristine, consistent edge on this knife. It's transformed from dull to dazzling. To remove any small metal particles and give it a clean, protective finish, I spray some WD-40, which helps protect the blade from rust and corrosion. Then, I wipe the blade with a paper towel. Now, the moment of truth. Look at that. It cuts through the tomato with absolute precision and no effort whatsoever. Just glide through. This homemade knife sharpener really brought this old knife back to life. Moving on to the second knife sharpening tip, I'll use a CD to make your knives as sharp as new. I'm taking an old CD from my collection. You might be wondering what this has to do with sharpening a knife, but trust me, it's going to be key. I'm using a piece of sandpaper to rub off the reflective data layer from the back of the CD. This step is crucial because it creates a textured surface that will help our adhesive bond perfectly, and it also removes any unevenness on the disc itself. After sanding, I'm cleaning the surface thoroughly with a cloth to remove any dust or residue. This ensures our next step works perfectly. Then, I apply a generous amount of super glue evenly across the sanded side of the CD. Now, I carefully place a piece of coarse grit sandpaper, which I previously cut to shape, onto the glued CD. I press firmly to ensure there are no air bubbles and the sandpaper adheres completely. Then, using scissors, I meticulously trim the excess sandpaper around the CD's edge to get a perfectly round disc. Now that our coarse side is done, I'm taking a utility knife to precisely cut out the center hole for the coarse disc. This hole needs to be clean and accurate for proper mounting. Next, I apply another layer of glue to the other side of the CD, and this time I'm attaching a finer grit sandpaper. The different grits allow us to gradually refine the blade's edge, starting with a more aggressive grind and moving to a smoother finish. Again, I trim around the edges and cut out the center hole with precision. Now we have a fantastic double-sided sanding disc. I'm carefully attaching the coarse sandpaper disc to my angle grinder. It's important to make sure it's centered and secured tightly, preventing any wobbling during operation. To make this a steady sharpening station, I secure the angle grinder firmly in a vise on my workbench. This setup will give me both stability and control. With everything secure, I turn on the angle grinder. Now, the key to sharpening is maintaining a consistent angle. I gently run the knife blade along the coarse disc, using light, even strokes. The coarse grit quickly removes metal, reshaping the edge. I work from the heel to the tip of the blade, ensuring the entire edge gets attention. Flip it over and repeat on the other side, always keeping that angle consistent. This process creates the primary bevel of our sharp new edge. After the initial grind with the coarse disc, I turn off the grinder and carefully remove the sandpaper disc. Now it's time for the finer grit to polish that edge. I'm reattaching the disc on the fine grit side of the sandpaper, securing it in place as before. This step refines the edge created by the coarse grit, removing any remaining burrs and creating a smoother, sharper finish. I repeat the same careful technique, light strokes, consistent angle, working from heel to tip on both sides. This is where the true sharpness of the knife begins to emerge. Once I'm satisfied with the edge, I turn off the grinder and remove the knife. The blade feels incredibly different. To finish, I take a soft cloth and spray a little WD-40 onto it. I carefully wipe down the blade. The WD-40 helps remove any microscopic metal shavings or burrs that might still be clinging to the edge, ensuring a clean and truly sharp finish. Plus, it adds a bit of protection to the blade. Let's test our newly sharpened knife. And now for the real test, a tomato. See how it glides through the skin without any resistance, creating perfect, thin slices? It even tackles the lime with incredible precision. This homemade sanding disc has transformed a dull, frustrating knife into a culinary dream. Let's move on to the third knife sharpening tip. I'm starting with an old spark plug. You might have a few of these lying around from a car repair. The key here is the ceramic insulator. I'll take a marker and draw a line around the metal part just below the ceramic. This is where I'll make my cut. Next, I'll secure the spark plug firmly in my vise. Using an angle grinder with a cutting disc, I'm going to carefully cut through the metal casing along the line I drew. This step removes the upper part of the plug, leaving us with the ceramic core exposed. After removing the metal part, I will install the modified spark plug into the chuck of the cordless drill. I'll tighten it securely. This allows our spark plug to spin rapidly, forming the core of our sharpening tool. Now for the abrasive part. I'm taking a strip of sandpaper works best for sharpening. I'll measure and mark it. To secure it, I'm using hot glue to stick sandpaper to the outside of the drill chuck. This ensures it sticks firmly and doesn't come loose during use. Next, I will continue to wrap it tightly around the chuck, ensuring there are no gaps. After wrapping, I will add hot glue to the final edge to prevent it from coming undone. Now that our DIY sharpening tool is complete, let's give it a test spin. As you can see, it rotates smoothly and evenly. It's time to sharpen this dull knife. I'll hold the knife at a consistent angle against the spinning sandpaper, moving it gently from the base to the tip of the blade. It's important to maintain a steady hand and a uniform angle for the best results. To prevent the blade from overheating and losing its temper, I'll occasionally spray some water on it. I'll continue this process, making several passes on each side of the blade. Consistency is key here. I'm gently applying pressure, ensuring the entire edge gets refined. You can see the dark residue coming off, which is a good sign that the dull metal is being removed. You'll start to feel the edge getting much sharper as you go. Now that the knife is sharpened, I want to give it a nice polish to remove any remaining marks and bring out its shine. I will apply a small amount of toothpaste directly to the ceramic part of the spark plug. Toothpaste actually contains mild abrasives that work great for polishing metal surfaces. I will repeat the same action, gently rubbing the blade against the ceramic part of the spark plug coated with toothpaste. This step not only makes the blade shiny but also sharpens the edge, giving it a mirror-like finish. After a good polish, I'll wipe the blade clean with a cloth. And there you have it. Look at this transformation. This knife, which was practically useless before, is now incredibly sharp and shiny. Let's test it out. First, on paper. It slices through effortlessly. See how it glides through effortlessly now. No more tearing, just clean, crisp cuts. Next, for the real test, the tomato. See how it glides through without any resistance, creating perfect, thin slices? That's the power of this simple, homemade sharpening tool. If you found this DIY project helpful and enjoyed seeing this incredible transformation, please give this video a big thumbs up. Share it with your friends and family who might also have dull knives. And let me know in the comments what other everyday items you'd like to see me repurpose. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.